Hello, and welcome to the Divine Disruptors Interfaith YouTube series, where we dive deep into to explore how God or one's divine power guides us in life and business in different ways. And I'm your host, Erin Ropolato, and today I'm here with my guest. Today is Amanda Moss. How are you doing, Amanda?
Hi, grateful to be here. Thanks for having me, Erin.
So excited to have Amanda here and to have this discussion today. So, Amanda, tell us just a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you.
Yeah, so I am a multi-passionate woman. I am a certified sommelier, so a wine expert, if you will. And I'm also extremely passionate about helping women reclaim their own intuition, build community, and connect with the divine in their own way.
Yes. So we're just going to get going in on this conversation. We were talking before we pushed record and we're like, we need to push record because, s- and I'm going to have Amanda go back just a little bit in her life and just kind of tell us. I mean, you talked about you feel guided by the universe and you feel you're excited about helping women find their own intuition. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey with.
Yeah, so I was raised Lutheran. Definitely grew up going to church like twice a week. Some of my favorite early childhood memories were like running around the church basement at like a classic Lutheran potluck. It was a 10 out of 10 experience for sure. And I'm so grateful for that upbringing. And then I would say for me, around the early 2000s, I noticed or like sensed a shift within like the church culture at large, where it started getting a little bit more, you can't do this or you can't do that. And it was like a little bit more like intense. And I was like, okay, I still want to be a good person of faith. So let me follow along. And eventually, ended up in a faith community that was extremely high control and subtly manipulative and was there for about 8 years. And then during the mass shutdown of 2020, it really gave me the space to deconstruct, figure out what was authentic to me in terms of faith and connection to God and what was conditioning and programming. And really, over the last 5 years, have rebuilt my sense of faith, community, and identity in a way that feels super authentic and aligned with who I actually am versus who people have told me to be.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. And I love the thought that we get to choose. Most of us have been brought up in some tradition of some kind, even if it's with faith or even without faith,
Yeah.
right? We come doing and what our parents usually have taught us, or, because as children, we have usually no other choice, usually. If they're going to go to church, they're going to take us with them. If they don't go, they're not going to take us. It's that kind of thing that you kind of are do whatever parents have taught you to do
Hmm.
because that's just what you do.
Right. And it's also how you build connection and community. I think that is one of the best, like, baseline things about church and faith is there's people around you. Like it is that kind of village mentality of like, hey, someone needs help, like let me support you. You just
Yes.
had a baby, let me bring you meals. Like it really is the expression of community at its best. Like I think that the world is really much very much craving that right now. Like we're kind of seeing people a lot more isolated than we've seen in the past. And it's like, well, I'm curious, is there a correlation between people leaving faith communities and then not having community? And I think that there has to be a third option. If you don't want to be in a faith community because that doesn't resonate with you, definitely honor that. But let's
Find a
build
community
a sense
somewhere.
of exactly build a sense of community elsewhere because that is how we're going to make it through life and actually thrive versus feeling burnout and overwhelmed constantly because we were never really meant to do this all on our own.
For sure. You mentioned 2020 a lot when everything kind of shut down and we were really isolated with just usually the people in our household and maybe with people at work or whatever, if we could work, like actually going to a place. But we got really, really comfortable and easy doing things online. And
Yeah.
I've noticed that there's a shift right now, even that people even doing business things online are now craving the community. They want the actual relationships, the actual person sitting in front of you so that you can build trust with them instead of just something behind a screen kind of thing.
Exactly. And I think that's going to be even more pertinent and important as like things progress with technology too, like authenticity
Mhm.
and building community and genuine connection is how we're going to create the world we want to create in this new era.
For sure. So, what are you doing right now for yourself to create community? Where have you found that community?
I am so thankful because during the massive pause of 2020, started really building intentional relationships, both online and in person. So I have a couple like Telegram chats of friends that live all over the country, and we like check in through voice notes and Zoom calls similar to this,
Mhm.
or we have like in-person gatherings of like, hey, we're gonna have a pool party and just like show up and support each other. And it's often less about like doing things and just being present. And it's like, okay, where are you at? Like, what support do you need? How can I hold space for you to take things on that are like overwhelming for you? Like offering that emotional support. And I'm also in the process of building my own community around that. So one of my passions is connecting people through wine and hospitality. Hospitality runs in my blood. I've
I'm
been
sure.
in the industry for years. My mom is a queen in the kitchen, like grew up making meatballs with her, kind of one of the some of the best memories of my childhood. And really connecting people around a table and gathering. So I am in the process of starting a community called Cosmic Sip, where we're going to have approachable wine education because if you want to like grab a glass, come hang out, learn something fun, connect with some people, and then also kind of a here's a snapshot of some of the energetics that are going on right now. So you feel a little less crazy because you're like, hey, things are intense, you're not making this up. It helps remove some cognitive overwhelm as well.
Awesome. So, tell us more about that. What does that look like? I mean,
Yeah, so I'm in the process of formulating it now. So I have a wait list started, but it's going to be a starting out twice a month community call where we're going to grab, hey, here's the wine we're going to be talking about today if you want to grab a bottle. We're also going to have like non-alcoholic options as well. Like if you're like, hey, I want to gather and hang out, but wine's not my thing. I have some amazing like mocktail recipes or also know some great wine alternatives. So that will be available as well. And just really like gathering women together because having the container where you can just be yourself and
Mhm.
that momentary reprieve from the to-do lists and all the things that life demands of you is really how we gather and restore and build a life that feels really beautiful. And that was definitely a lifeline for me during my own faith journey was having people being like, "Hey, let's just like have dinner and sit around a table with this amazing meal." And I also am a Psalm, so I would be like, "Oh, here's the wine I'm bringing." So just creating these magical moments of gathering and connection.
that. So, is this going to be mostly in person wait list, or is it going to be online also?
So right now it's going to be virtual. I'm going to have a community in my stand store where you can do a small like monthly subscription where it's going to be like here's the dates and times, here's what we're tasting, here's the notes of the wine. If you want to like start building your own kind of repertoire of knowledge, we'll have that available as well. But just starting off virtually
Mhm.
because I don't want location to be a determining factor.
Sure.
Eventually, I'd love to have like either in-person retreats or just like community gatherings where it's like, hey, we're all just going to meet here. If you can, come hang out. We'll rent this like big house, kind of all just hang out and do
Learn
fun
together.
community things. Ultimate dream would be to have it be like kind of a cooking class too, where it'd be like, hey, we're gonna have this chef come in, teach us some new meals or the creativity side of it, and then also just be in nature, be together, like women gathering,
Connect.
remembering who they are as people, aside from all of the roles that society and just life demands of them.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Slowing
And
down.
I love that thought of just gathering. And that is something that I've been thinking a lot about actually the last few weeks of just that importance of being that person that brings people together in a common cause of whatever that might be. And it could be something that they're learning together or you're there supporting one another and just having a place where you can just come and be, just like you're talking about. Like
And I also want it to be one of those spaces where your whole worthy, authentic self is welcome, where it's not like, oh, I have to be in a good mood when things are hard. There are like some of my closest friends, like we don't always talk all the time, but it'll be like, hey, here's what we're celebrating, or hey, like here's what's going on, and this is really tough, and I could use some support. And so even just having that infrastructure where it's low maintenance but high intention, I think that is what women are really craving right now because we need to actually do less, not more. So
Exactly.
creating a space that feels like that exhale and feels like that reprieve, where you're like, okay, I can settle here, I can rest, I can be here, and allowing other people to show up for you in that as well.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. And I was thinking just later on today, I have some roommates that I had in college. For 30 years ago, we were roommates, and we get together like there's a few of us that live within an hour of each other, and we get together, like 6 or 7 times a year. And today's one of those. And I was just thinking, like, oh, I haven't seen him since March, but I'm like, I know as soon as we get there, you just drop right back in, and you can just share what you need to share, and you can give encouragement and support and just listen, or you're just there, and it's like those one of those things that you just like you feel at home again,
Yeah.
you know.
Like those relationships are so sacred. Like you've been 30 years, like you've had so many life stages and transitions together. Like my
Yes.
closest friend in life, we've known each other for 14 years. And I'm like, I don't know if there's anyone on this planet that like knows me better and deeper than this person because she's been there with like, hey, we're celebrating this. And it's like, stuff is hitting the fan right now. And she's like, I got you. Like that level
Mhm.
of connection and like safety is so important.
So much so. And it's just like it kind of is just like there's just even though you haven't seen each other or talked or even texted each other for a few months, and except planning, arranging the time to meet, that you just come back in, and you just catch back up, and just kind of it just moves forward, and there's not like this awkward getting to know you again kind of thing. You just kind of just always know and are always there. And so, Amanda, tell us a little bit about, I mean, you're talking about this gathering where you're going to, do, the wine thing, but you talk about also finding this cosmic connection. I don't know if that's, is that the word that you used? I didn't write it down.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So tell
Um,
us a little bit more about that, because that's where I'm kind of intrigued, because I know that's kind of where you have been headed in your personal spirituality, I guess, if that's what we want to call it. Is that what you call it? Your personal intuition? I
I
can't
think I
remember.
kind of, yeah, it evolves.
Okay.
But right now it's more of like the faith and like inner knowing and like alignment with authenticity.
Okay.
So having been raised in the church, I knew the expectations of what it looked like to be the good Christian, the
Mhm.
good woman. And I'm very grateful for that structure and like that sense of knowing, but at the same time, for me and my personality, it ended up creating some very toxic patterns of like people pleasing and self-abandoning and ending up in a high control environment. I actually disassociated from my life for about 8 years. Like I have pockets of my 20s where I'm like, I remember this, I remember that, but if you like, there's a lot of blanks where I'm just like, I don't remember because I just, for a safety reason, just was like, all right, later days, like I'm gonna check out.
Mhm.
So it was actually during 2020 that I made the conscious choice to come back into my body, back into my life. And that required a lot of cleanup
I'm sure.
emotions. I mean, I would say the first emotion that I really accessed and really like embodied was rage, where I was just like, wow, like my agency and my autonomy was taken from me. And there was a part of me that willingly gave that up. So having to kind of reconcile that. And I think that's such a powerful and necessary part of the journey. And talking with some women and friends that I know, they're like, I'm just really angry right now. And I'm like, that is not a bad thing. We just need to make sure we're channeling it for like
Mhm.
healthy outlets and purposes because it can be self-destructive if we
Very
let
much.
it. But
Yeah.
it's like anger is a powerful motivator for change. So at that point, I started tearing down all of the belief structures I had been raised with and really evaluating them from a, is this what I actually believe or was this what I was conditioned to believe? I would say that process took about 2 years and a lot of emotion, a lot of movement, a lot of tears. And now I would say I'm in a place where I'm so grateful for that journey, especially that it was actually a cult. I don't want to be aggressive, but it had very cult-like tendencies. But I met some of my closest friends in life there. So I'm like, not all of it was bad. And now I'm in a place where I'm like, I know what I believe, I know what I'm about, I know who I am, and that is the best feeling in the world. I would go back through all of that nonsense again and again to get to this place. And this is what motivates me to help other women find and claim their own form of authenticity and spirituality and faith because I know that journey of like feeling so lost and so isolated to deep self-empowerment, authenticity in a way that's like, I wake up every day and I'm like, I know what I'm about. And
Mhm.
that's powerful.
Very powerful. It's very powerful and so freeing too.
Yeah.
Just allowing yourself, letting Amanda be Amanda is what it is.
Learning boundaries. Whew, that was a whole lesson in life.
Oh, I'm
I was like,
sure.
wow, okay. To go from people pleasing to saying no, that was probably about a year of like, I don't actually want to do that. And it's still a work in progress. There's still days that I like do things out of ought to and should versus alignment and what I want, but it's fewer and farther in between now. So
Mhm.
it's definitely been worth it for sure.
And it's probably being able to express what you actually want instead of what, I mean, it's going back to that people, what instead of what others want for you, kind of
Hmm.
being with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was part of my own faith journey was leaving organized religion. And then I had all of this energy and capacity that I invested in my faith journey. And I was like, okay, well, it doesn't feel aligned right now, or this needs to be on the shelf for now. I'm
Mhm.
not saying I'll never go back to church. I'll never do this, but it's like for now, this is a no because I need to figure out what I actually want.
Mhm.
And in the process of that, started looking into other like faith modalities or even just systems and really discovered the impact that astrology can have on your faith and how it can be a lens to look through faith as well. Like it's not in opposition to a faith. Like actually some of my closest friends are Christian. They're also like, hey, this is what's going on with the stars and this is how I feel connected. And I look at it as this was God's cosmic blueprint that you were given because this was the placement of all of these planets and structures and luminaries the moment you were born and like how that can impact your life. I was eternally fascinated by
Oh,
that. So I
sure.
went down to the rabbit hole and now I'm like, oh, I can help you figure out alignment based on what God gave you the moment you were born. It's kind of like a cheat sheet, if you will. I'm like, why would we not use this? This is amazing. So that's something I'm also really happy to help people with too. Is like if you're curious about that, like you can absolutely mirror that in your faith. It's not in opposition. And I think that was one of the parts of my deconstruction journey was only systems of control are afraid of questions and other inputs because God speaks to us through many different ways.
So much so. So I want to go back to just what you're talking about your cosmic blueprint. So tell us, what are some things that you learned about yourself through that?
I would say I learned how to work with my own energy and capacity. So I, when I first started looking into this, I was like, wow, I'm working a corporate 9 to 5 job and I'm burnt out. And then I looked at my birth chart and I was like, oh, that's because like my actions and energy needs to be driven by community and justice and like building harmony. And that was in stark opposition with working corporate wine sales. Like there's not a lot of harmony in that.
Okay.
So just figuring out like, oh, this is a lot of things in life started to make sense. And I was always a little bit this person. Like I was the kid that would go to church and then also be like, what's my horoscope? Or collecting like rocks and then being like, oh, those were crystals like when I was like 6 years old. So I'm like, oh, there's always little sprinklings of this throughout my life. And now it's just more to the forefront, I would say.
Yeah. So you just mentioned that one of your things is living in harmony. So what are some other things from the day and the moment that you were born that kind of are some of the blueprint that God gave to you according to the astrology things that you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't even know what
So
that's called. Sorry.
no, you're fine.
This is
So
all new.
I know it's also really fun though too.
Yeah, it sounds
It's just like,
amazing.
oh, and it's not something that I would say like, oh, I put all of my faith in this.
Oh, of
I'm like,
course.
I use
Yeah.
it as a lens of like, ooh, okay, am I operating in alignment with like my soul and like my connection to God? So one of the things that has been shown to me is how much my energy is impacted by like structure and how structure has to be flexible. So I'm not someone who's like super rigid and regimented. Like I very much follow the flow of like my own internal like compass of like, ooh, today I can work for 10 hours straight, hardly take a break, really focus. And then the next day after that, it has to be like a nothing day. Like it needs to be like a full power down, recharge. Those are days where I'm doing movement and like meditation, taking naps, like reading books, like just kind of rejuvenating
Mhm.
instead of having this, okay, every day needs to be the same, or oh, we're in a 24-hour time period. It's like women aren't linear, we're cyclical.
Mhm.
So, really learning how to maximize and use that to build in productivity that feels generative instead of taxing.
Yes. Okay. I resonate with a lot of that now because that's some things that I've heard and discussed a lot with people lately is just that, women were on that like usually on a lunar cycle more. Our the things that we do is more like in a 28-day-ish time period. And I mean, just compared to men, they're like on a 24-hour cycle.
Yes.
And it's just so different just to see just the different ways that men and women operate, I think,
Yeah.
in those and being open and accepting. Because I guess for like almost our whole lives, I think for my whole life, I was always running on this 24-hour cycle in my mind I was trying to conform to be something that is not really me.
Yeah.
I guess I don't even know the word. Those are, yeah. But it's
That
just
was a
like,
huge part of my faith journey as well, was reclaiming like the feminine essence. Because
very.
if a lot of faith structures have like God is a man, we operate this way, it's like very patriarchal. And I don't say that in a like screw the system, burn it down. It's just more of like the framework. And it's like, it wasn't always that way. Like, there were many cultures that had the divine feminine and like the goddess archetype. So, figuring out how to pull on those archetypes and apply it to my life really brought me back into balance, which, if you can't guess, I'm a Libra, astrologically speaking. So, I'm like, how do we find harmony and balance? Very congruent with my chart. And how do we connect in a way that feels good to us? Because you're absolutely right. Like, women operating on a 24-hour cycle
Is
is A, not realistic, and B, like, no wonder we're exhausted, burnt out, like fed up and frazzled. Like, the collective of women are like, this isn't working. And
Mhm.
I think that we're supposed to come back to that, but we have to reclaim aspects of the feminine that have been lost in some of the traditional faith structures. Because even within Christianity, and that was the way I was raised, it was like you had Eve, Mother Mary, and like Mary Magdalene were kind of like your main feminine archetypes across the like spectrum. I know there were other women that had it
Yes.
in the Bible, but I would say like if we had to pick like the overarching theme, okay, but what about like the wild woman? What about the woman who is connected to like nature and like Mother Earth? Like, we refer to the earth as the feminine, and yet we're so disconnected from the rhythms and cycles. Like,
Yeah.
that's just kind of what I think about all the time of like, how can we bring this back into the collective in a way that is congruent with who we are and like where we've been.
Hmm.
And it feels good and expansive rather than like in conflict with the way we've always operated.
Yes. Oh, this is so good because I just finished reading a book and I'm kind of like in this little book club for this book called Magnetic Femininity.
Ooh,
Femininity. I can't remember the author
I have
even.
to drop that in the show notes because I'm going to want to look into that.
Yeah. But it was that I mean I read through it and I mean I had to read through I'm like I need to read through it really fast. And now I need to go back and read it and do it really slow because I kind of needed the overarching theme of it, but it was just talking about the different about women living in a 28-day cycle pretty much or 21 28-day cycle and men the 24 and then just how as women we need times of that we have a lot of energy and we can do things and we need times of rest and
Mhm.
that looks different than just 1 day a week rest. It looks like you might need several days of rest because of how your body is responding and it all goes back to hormones and all that different
Yeah.
I mean all of this different thing and just like and just also just encompassing the divine feminine qualities that we get from I have a belief system that we have a God, we have a heavenly Father that loves us, and we have a mother, heavenly mother.
One without
You
the
can't
other.
have we cannot be children of God without a mom.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And, you know,
Exactly. Yeah. And I
and it's
think that's been one of the most impactful things for me in this journey is like reevaluating all of the things that I was taught, but through the lens of a little bit of mysticism. Like
yeah,
Jesus was doing miracles. That was magic. Like, and how we interact with each other and the elements. And like, yes, the divine mother and like that nurturing presence and also how radical it is to give ourselves that permission to rest for multiple days because we live in a society and a structure that's like output above everything. And
yes.
so in divine harmony, the masculine provides the frame for the woman to rest. And so I think that's one of the things I would love to see
You'll love
come.
this book then. You will love
Okay,
this book.
perfect. Yeah, send it to me because I'm like always looking for a
Because
new.
it's just that thing that there are I mean there are masculine roles
Hmm.
and there are
Yeah.
feminine roles and a lot of times as women we are living more in the masculine because we're trying to prove something when in reality we don't need to prove anything.
Yes.
It's
But it also requires so much safety internally to surrender those masculine roles. You
exactly.
have to create spaces where we feel safe to lay down the like energetic shield. So I
Yeah.
don't want it to come across as like women, you just need to like surrender and give up. And it's like give in and not give up, or maybe give up. Some things we should give up.
Yeah.
But it's also that, like, how do we create safety within ourselves to allow the exhale, to allow that sacred pause to just be?
Be.
That's where it starts.
It's
Because if we try and change your life based on all of these systems and plans and rules, it's like it's not going to land. It's just going to be another system that you have to feel like you're hustling and striving for. If there's anything that I can offer to the feminine collective, I want it to be like, hey, we're going to do less and like we're going to pause and we're going to come back to what feels good in our body with a whole lot of safety around that. So
yeah.
it's like, even if it's just an hour of your like week where you're just like, okay, I'm just going to pause and just be and I'm going to turn off everything, all of the roles, all of the cognitive expectations and emotional and mental load of being a mom, running a household, or being a single woman working in the workforce, like to whatever your life stance is. How do we create just even that like little bit of pause, that little
Mhm.
bit of space? And it starts there because
Mhm.
I absolutely want this to feel like it's attainable and it's available, but also not one more thing
Mhm.
because we need to pull it back and
Yeah.
just feel like, okay,
Yeah.
return to the being of being a
Return to the
woman.
being and allowing things to drop out that are not serving you anymore and are not useful and are yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's the thing that, this whole thing with this divine disruptors is that we make a mess of things, but it's in a good way so that then we can come and find what truly resonates personally
Yeah.
and with us no matter what. And I loved how earlier you were talking about the importance of feeling feelings. That's another thing in this thing that I've been reading about, that like we really need to truly like take time and just like, if we are mad, it's okay to be mad.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We're a
You know?
society of overthinking and underfeeling, and that
Yeah.
creates overwhelm and disassociation. And I know that because I was that for 8 years. And my coping mechanisms were super unhealthy. I would numb out watching Netflix for a whole day. Literally, my day off would just be like, I'm so burnt out. I just need to like chill out, or like eating my feelings to just feel something. Like I used to eat emotionally, and
Mhm.
that still pops up occasionally as like a coping mechanism, but I'm much more aware of it, and I have other tools and abilities to regulate instead of like self-medicate
Yes,
through things.
those different things. Oh, this has been such a good conversation, and just I so you talk so I want to go back to one thing. You talk about people pleasing. Have you read the book The Let Them Theory by
I have read some of it. Yes.
Okay.
I love what Mel is talking about. I know that there's a lot of people that have different perspectives and opinions on that work, but as someone who is a people pleaser, just being like, let them, okay. But
Let them
also let me, the empowering part of it
That's the
was
part
like,
that yes.
great, you are absolutely welcome to do that. And this is my response. This is my boundary, whatever, like whatever builds congruence within yourself.
And it's just that, and let, yeah, I like the other, the reverse of let me do things how I want, how I feel
Yeah.
aligned with myself of how I want to show up and do. I like that too. So,
Yeah. I think
oh,
it's
this has
also,
been so good.
oh my gosh, I've enjoyed this conversation so much. I think at the end of the day, it's that reality that no one's coming to save us. Like we have the divine, we have our connection to God and our faith, but also we have a responsibility to make our lives what we want it to be. And it can be a slow process, starting with a single no, I'm not going to do that, to then saying, okay, I'm not going to be a part of this work environment or this friend group or whatever. Like the more you build safety within yourself, the more clarity you'll get as to what is going to have you feeling the best and like a
Mhm.
regenerative energy.
So, yes, so much so. So, I've got another question for you, Amanda.
Yeah.
So, what have your experiences taught you about God, the universe, the divine power that you believe in? What have your experiences taught you about them? Actually, I'm going to say them
Yeah.
because, as I kind of said before, like I totally believe that we have heavenly parents,
Yeah.
and
That's so refreshing to hear.
there is a masculine and a feminine that because that's we do have
We're
a
mirrors of the divine.
we
Like if
are.
God was just a man, then we would only have men. Like then we wouldn't have mothers, and
We need to have both. Like
we need both.
we need both
Yeah.
so that we can exist and have and bring more to this earth.
Yeah, and I would
We need
say
both.
that that is going to be like my biggest hope at the end of the day is that it's going to have to be the women that go first, but that we can start rebuilding society in a way that's based on harmony and congruence and like sharing of responsibilities and feeling the embodiment of what it is to be human. Like
Mhm.
we were given this body and this life, like it's such a gift. And it is really just societal programming that's like, oh, you're just here doing the thing and you're here to work a job and then you get your money. And it's like, no, we were here for connection and like to live in harmony with Mother Earth and each other. But it's going to have to be the women that go first because we're going to have to be the ones that model to the men. And I think we're starting to see this now. Like I've seen so many women who are like asking really deep questions or like, I'm not playing this game anymore. Like, because sometimes society feels like a simulation where you're just like, it's all a game and it's like you have your controllers.
Yeah.
And seeing people say, I'm not going to be a part of that, I'm like, yes, this is the beginning. And I'm so excited for what's to come. It's going to be intense. Don't worry.
Yes.
Like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I absolutely have faith in the divine, but also humanity as a collective So, to answer your question of like what it feels like to experience that now, I would say it is a divine whisper, like in my life, where, you could say it's like my intuition or people in my life, but it's just this rooted knowing that is allowed to evolve. Like having been raised in a very structured faith, I used to be quite judgmental and like morally superior just because that was my own like wounding and trauma. But now it's like, oh, there's aspects of God and the divine in every human. Like we are the divine experiencing itself. So like when we're connecting to God, it's this like connective layer of like, oh, everything just makes sense or everything is right in the world, even if
There's
circumstances
chaos.
aren't there. You know what I mean? Like, I would say my faith is deeper and more authentic and true than it's ever been, but it's also very much less structured.
Yes. So when you have these divine experiences, I mean, is it something that you like feel like you need to write down, or is it just like, just thoughts that come into your mind and your heart?
Yeah, I would say it's a couple different ways. So I definitely am like a big journaler.
Okay.
I like to write things down. I also have like close friends that'll be like, "Hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking about," or "This is a idea or a concept that I'm fleshing out. Like, do you want to like talk about this with me?" I love, love, love like deeply intellectual conversations. It's one of my favorite things in life. Just exploring the beauty and complexity of it. And also I do track like the transits of what's going on like astrologically and how that applies to like my chart and like what aspect of my chart that applies to. So what I mean by that is okay, so the sun is in Cancer. Well, Cancer's in my 11th house. So I know that for this 3.5 week period, I'm going to be focusing on community, faith, building connection. Like that's what this pocket of time is. And
Mhm.
like there's other things that play into it, but that has really helped me reduce the overwhelm of like, oh my gosh, I have so many things to do. It's like, okay, for this period, you're focusing on this, and then we'll move on to something else and another aspect of life. It's really created some softness and like receiving in my life. And I also enjoy playing with like cards, whether it's like an oracle deck or tarot, like that kind of helps confirm like what I'm thinking about and experiencing with the divine, but it also will point out when God's like, hey, babe, you're actually kind of deluding yourself right now. I'll be
Oh,
like, oh, let me reevaluate and check in because I still deceive myself sometimes, like whether it's aspirational or unintentional, I'm just like, oh, maybe that's not quite the way the world works or what God's doing right now. So I'd say it's much less structured, but much more and flow and congruent and a lot of prayer. Like prayer is very much an aspect of my life, but I feel like it's more of a constant communication rather than like oh, I need to sit down and pray. Like there's times and periods of that too, but it's also just it's a constant connection, a constant lifeline.
yes. So much so. I feel that same way about prayer. Like, and I heard it described a few months ago as living discussions, like with God. And I have really embraced that because that is something that I feel like for me and my the way that my faith works is just that God guides me when I'm like in communication with him. And there's for me, it's sometimes there's never a specific beginning time for that
Mm-hmm.
communication or an ending time. It's just kind of like this constant like thinking and like, what do you think about this? Or, like, should I do
Yeah.
this? Or, it's just kind of that there's just this constant conversation that's just kind of
Yeah.
there that doesn't begin with, hey God, can I talk to you? And it doesn't end with an amen. It's just kind of a just
Yeah.
I mean, there
You're like,
are
"We
like you said,
might
there are
chat about this.
times.
We
There are
might need to
times,
put a pin in it, but yeah, we're
yeah,
gonna like
yeah.
I also see a lot of like signs too. So I'm so perpetually fascinated by the way like the spiritual world interacts with us as humans. Like, so seeing like a cardinal makes me think of my grandmother, just like that kind of ancestral connection as well. But also knowing that everyone here is doing the best they can, even if it's not what we would want or it's not the way we want them to show up. I truly believe that like people are doing their best. And it's like my grandmother on my mom's side, like we had a good but kind of also tumultuous relationship when she was alive. And then when we had a really beautiful repair before she passed on. And then on like the other side, I started getting like such a better and deeper understanding as to who she was as a woman. And I'm like, oh, like you didn't have the resources that I have to understand trauma, to understand that people love you and like how to let them show up for you. And so
Mm.
I just have a lot of like compassion for her and like for everyone in my lineage, but also tapping into that generational wisdom that's been passed on, you know? So it's just kind of seeing like, oh, every time I see a cardinal, I'm like, hi, grandma. Like it's just kind of one of those like, oh, there you are. And just
Sure.
feeling connected to the divine beyond like God itself, or just like the ways that God shows up in our lives in like really small and tangible ways, like just continues to like deepen my faith where I'm like, wow, life is really, really beautiful.
Yes. Ooh, I love that. And I just love thinking too about allowing each person, family members or others around us, that we're all going to do things we're going to do things differently. Before we started recording, we were talking, I was just talking about like I have 8 siblings. Like, or there's 7 siblings. I have 7 siblings, there's 8 of us. But like we all grew up in the exact same house. My parents were, we had the same gospel discussions and just regular dinner time discussions about life or whatever was happening. We were all there and all present, but the way that we internalized and then go and do things is so vastly different. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's how
I know
God made
part
us.
of me is like, I want to see everybody's charts because I could tell you how like their personalities are impacted by like what was going on when they were born. I'm just over here like every time I hear that, I'm like, oh, I want to know everything because it's made such an impact on like my family too, where it's like my sister and I are a little bit more into like astrology, and we're like having conversations with my parents, and my parents are like, oh, this and that, and my dad will be like, is something in retrograde? What's going on out there? And I'm like, yes. It's been so fun for us to like connect over that and celebrate each other's differences, but also honor like each individual for who they are. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, your personality is more geared towards this because of this life experience, but also these placements. And I just think that can be a really empowering tool to connect with yourself, but also your family too.
Yes, so much so. Because I mean, if you think about a family, I'm like, you are together like in the home for so much
Yeah.
time a day or whatever when you're growing up. But then there's other times that you're out with other people and you just have just it just brings all those differences, and that just the differences aren't a bad thing. They're something that can be complementary, that we
Yeah.
each bring a different perspective or a different idea to the table when we're trying to have discussions and make decisions about specific things, if it's something that everyone's involved in, or just having conversations that you can just share your different experience to give others a different perspective on, oh, I had never thought about that in this way. I find that a lot just in my own home, like with my husband and my kids, like they bring in different ideas and I'm like, oh, I had never thought about that. When if I do or say this, that this could be a possible thing that happens down the road, which,
Yeah.
not necessarily, but
And
anyway.
life would be so boring if we were all the same.
I share that all the time. Yes, it would be like, yes, so boring. If
Oh my
everybody brought the
gosh.
same gift to you for your birthday, it'd be so boring. Because like who needs 10 pairs of socks when you want Diet Coke instead? Who knows, whatever it is.
Those socks low key became like the best Christmas stocking stuffer. I'm like, yes. That's how you know you've become like an adult when you're like, yes, new socks. Like as a kid, you're like, what is this?
Where's my toy instead? I don't want that.
Yeah, you're like, I wanted a new game.
So good. Oh, Amanda, this conversation has been so fun. And is there anything else that you wanted to share today that you have felt on your heart?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, like, to the woman or person who is in the beginning of their questioning, like follow that lead. Like it is going to lead you to like true places of genuine connection with yourself, but also other people. And also, if you have any questions or curious or you want to connect and like you're like, all right, tell me about this birth chart thing, I would be happy to connect with you, but also help you provide insight in a way that's going to actually be applicable to your life. Like that's one of the things that I'm very much about is like not having astrology be a justification for like bad behavior, but also it's not a prescription of your life. It's just a filter of assessment. And it's like once we get you understanding like your own personality in a way that connects with you, that's when the real magic happens.
For sure. So Amanda, tell people where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Amanda_Moss. I will include that in the show notes. And
Yes.
then also, if you were interested in working with me or booking a session, I would love to provide 10% off to all of your community to like get
Okay.
the process started. If that's something that you're like, tell me more about this, I will give you the code. We'll put it in the show notes
Show
for
notes.
you so you can
So do you have a
find.
website, Amanda, or not, or just through
So I have
Instagram?
a sand store. So we have
Okay.
a kind of a hub for all of that in the
Okay.
process of building out websites. And I'm getting better at tech things. It's
Oh,
not
good
something
for you.
I'm naturally inclined to. So like this has been such a growth, such a fun growth experience. But yeah, I would say Instagram is like the best way to connect with me now. I love messaging with people in DMs as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a DM and let me know that Erin sent you, and we would be happy to get you at least
Awesome.
at least exploring your own authenticity. I think that's what I would love to present. It's just the space and potential to find out who you truly are, because that version of you is absolute magic.
Sure. So awesome. So we will, yes, we'll put all this in the show notes so that you can connect with Amanda and learn more with her and learn more about yourself even. And
Join Cosmic Sip if that's something that it speaks to you as well. I'm looking for like a mid-July, early August launch. So we're getting those things kind of pulled together. So definitely let me know in the DMs if that's something you would want to join and learn some fun wine education, but also just mainly build community and be with people. That's the
yes.
whole point.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you and just the opportunity to learn from you and to see how God and the universe works for you because and remembering for all of us that whatever we believe that those differences matter
Mhm.
and they make us who we are and they are that we can connect to that higher power in a different way. So, thanks
Erin,
again for being here.
much. I appreciate this conversation and getting to know you has been so much fun. And also I just want to honor like who you are and that you are answering the call to host these kinds of conversations. Like this is a very like powerful space that you've created. So I
So,
hope you're blessed richly for it.
well, thank you so much. And thank you again, Amanda. And we will see you again for another conversation here at Divine Disruptors, where we will explore how God or one's divine power guides us in life and business in different ways. So we will see you again next time. And thanks again, Amanda. We will talk to you soon. Bye.